Give me a second, folks. I know I'm a little bit not as tech savvy as a lot of other people. I just got to mute something. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Smaug's vlog. Now, today I have somebody here that I think is a very important part of our hobby. Somebody that I found a few years ago through a Kickstarter, and I've been a customer of his ever since. He's an excellent painter, hell of a dude. His name is Ronnie Gamble, and he's from Fallout Hobbies, and here he is. How you
Hey
doing,
guys,
Ronnie?
what's going on?
And how's life treating you right now?
Really good. Really good.
Awesome, awesome. So I see you're in your shop there, huh?
Yeah, well, I got a couple work areas set up, but this is kind of the I don't know, I guess the dumping ground. I guess that's where all the like half finished projects are, and you could see I got some Gundams, some Knights, some terrain pieces over there. So if I clear all that stuff off, it's a full blown, urban game table. But right now I'm kind of in the midst of about 20 different projects, so it's a little
Sweet.
bit of a mess.
Now I want to ask you, Ron. I mean, a lot of times when you buy stuff from people, people in the community or in general, you don't really know their background as far as like modeling and stuff like that.
Mm.
Now, how long have you been modeling? When did you get into it?
Probably when I was around 11 or 12. I started out back in the day doing like AMT Ertl models, mostly like Star Wars and Star Trek models. I was always a big, Star Wars and Star Trek fan. So, I remember building like the old AMT Ertl and the MPC, like TIE fighters and the Millennium Falcon and stuff like that. And then it kind of like I got into like vinyl figures for a little bit after that. I did a lot of like the Screamin' and Horizon figures in the early 90s. Like the Hellraiser figures and a bunch of the X-Men figures like Cable and Wolverine and stuff like that. And then got into wargaming stuff around third edition 40K. So that would be like, I don't know, like 2002, 2003, something like that was back when I got into it initially. So that was a while ago. And ever since then been doing a combination of things because I still, I do wargaming models a lot, but I still do Star Wars models. I love Bandai models. I love Gundam models. And Bandai's Star Wars stuff is pretty awesome. I actually have a bunch of conversion kits that I made for different TIE fighter configurations and stuff like that. Yeah. And then, lately I've just kind of been printing my own models.
Now, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I'll find something really cool or I'll find a website where they sell really nice STL files and I'll just print my own busts or figures and paint them up from that.
Cool. Now, you've been doing it since you were a kid.
Yeah.
I take it. Okay. So, but you were more of a war gamer.
Oh, I was actually, I never really was strong in the gaming aspect. It was always more of the hobby aspect for me. I mean, I do war game from time to time, but I'm not I get a couple games a year and not a ton, but I'm not competitive by any means.
So you just dig the figures and stuff.
Oh, I love the figures. I love the figures. I love the conversions. I love detailing stuff and building accessories for them and stuff like that. Terrain. I love doing terrain. It's so fun. Just to build all the little signs and accents and stuff like that. And, make some dumpsters out of, sheet plastic and fill it up with stuff, I love doing stuff like that. It's very fun.
Now, when you paint them, are you an airbrusher or are you a paintbrusher or a combination of both like me?
Well, I mean, my business is primarily airbrush accessories. So, I definitely airbrush a lot, but I also hand paint a lot too. And one of the things that I always do is try to combine both. I'll use the airbrush, if I'm doing a bust, for instance, I'll use the airbrush to lay down all the base colors, all the tones. I really like airbrushing skin tones and stuff like that. And then I'll break out the detail brushes to do all the accents. I'll do the skin highlights, the hair highlights, the little highlights in the eyes, stuff like that, all by brush. because I mean you kind of can't really do that.
Right. Yeah.
Anymore,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
kind of difficult. I just did that
Yeah.
little, I don't know if you saw it, that little baby Yoda that I did on that
Yeah. Yeah,
Mandalorian.
I saw it earlier
Yeah.
today.
That's all airbrushed other than his cloak from here down, because
Right.
I figured, once I airbrushed the head and got the tones in there and then I brush painted the eyes, I was like, I'm not going to mask all this off just to do that. So I just, yeah. So yeah, I'm the same way.
It's a place and a time, you know what I mean? Like if the airbrushing will improve the final piece, yes, do it. But if it's something where it's like you start getting to a point where is it worth it? You know what I mean? Because if you could just do it by hand and
Yeah.
get a comparable effect, then yeah, do it by
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah. I've been getting a lot better with the one thing I hated about brush painting, and I wasn't good at it with a paintbrush because I would always leaving streaks there.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
in the
Especially with
last few months,
colors.
man, I've gotten that down pat now with, thinning it and, because I'm heavy handed. I'm so used to an
Yeah.
airbrush that I go in with an airbrush and boom, 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 smooth. Paintbrush, but I've gotten used to it. So
I'm about half and half, I would say. I mean, everything that
Mhm.
every like finished piece that I've done recently has been probably about 2/3 airbrushed and then 1/3 hand painted after that. So I get the big sections done with the airbrush and the main shadows and the lighting done with the airbrush, and then bring in the brush for detail.
So do you prefer doing like busts, or just you just it
Oh, it's
doesn't
all over
matter
the
as long
place.
as it piques your interest.
Yeah, it's my I get bored, so it's like I'll do a bunch of like 1/72 scale Bandai Star Wars models, and I'll knock out like 2 or 3 in a month, and then I'll switch over and do a bust, and then I'll do like a couple units for Warhammer after that, and then maybe I'll do a Gundam after that. I'm just constantly rotating, you know what I mean?
Right,
But
right.
it all piques my interest. Or every once in a while I'll do something like around Halloween time, I make masks for the kids or something. Or I love buying like dollar store masks and then like repainting them really well, so that it's like the best dollar you could get for your
Mhm.
buck. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right, right. Um, Now I wanna transition a little bit into
Hmm.
your business, and I'm gonna put up on the stream here your webpage there.
Which is going to be
Now,
totally new next weekend.
oh, you're gonna redesign it?
We've been redesigning it. Jules and I have been redesigning it. We're relaunching a whole new website next weekend. Plus, we have the 4th of July sale, and we have all the different groups that we're setting up and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Now, I first got found you. It was on a Kickstarter, and that was what, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, somewhere around there.
Over 5 years
Yeah,
ago. Yeah.
and I remember I got some decals made. You custom
Mm.
made some decals for me, and I got a bunch of stencils and stuff. Now I want to ask you, why this kind of business? What piqued your interest in this kind of business?
Well, so I was an art director in Philadelphia for about 15 years, and I worked in a couple different agencies, and I dealt with corporate America a lot, and I started to hate it. I mean,
Mhm.
I hated the whole cheesiness of corporate America. I hated office culture. Um, I hated working for people that I thought were idiots, and it didn't seem to improve with any place I went to. And I had done a lot, and I know that sounds very cynical, but I mean, it's just kind of like I hit this point when I was in my early 30s, where I had already had one son and he was little at the time, and I was married at the time, and I was working like ridiculous hours. I was working like these hours where I wouldn't even get home till like 7 or 8 at night. I'd see my kid for like an hour before bed,
Mhm.
and then have to do it all over again and just get shit on by some loser in a fucking suit. And I was just like, screw this. So I had worked a lot of different positions over the years. I had worked in marketing. I had worked as an art director for a long time, like I said. Before that, I worked in a t-shirt shop. I have 3 different art degrees, including one of them being an industrial design degree, which has been coming in handy lately with like the 3D work that I've been doing. And I kind of felt like, how can I make a business that is viable, that is something that people will want and use, and it, is a skill that I have that not necessarily everyone else has. And at the time, I was doing commission painting at the time for Warhammer figures, and I was, selling like an army every month or so. And I started creating like tools for myself, like tools to speed things up, you know what I mean? Or I would create like custom decals for an army for myself or for someone else. And I started making like little things to help speed up the process when I was like painting large batches of orders. And I started thinking, you know what, if I'm using this stuff all the time and I have to make this stuff by myself, why don't I just start selling this? Because clearly if I'm using it and it's helping me out with my commission painting business, it'll help someone else out too.
Right.
And being a designer primarily as my main career focus, I had a lot of knowledge with different aspects and print processes and stuff like that. So the initial concept for the store, way before it was anything else, the very first concept of the store was just doing custom decals. And I didn't expect it to get really big. I didn't expect it to get to the point where it is now. Certainly at the time, I thought it would just be like, oh, there'd probably be like maybe a handful of guys a month that would want like a custom sheet here or there. And right now it's turning out to be, I'm processing, a couple hundred orders a week, but probably about 30 of those are custom orders split between Jules and I. And some are more complex than others for sure. And, but the initial idea was, that was a bit of a tangent. The initial idea was custom decal design, which is something we still offer. But then people were like, you should do airbrush stencils. And I'm like, you know what? I should do airbrush stencils. So why not? And then it became airbrush stencils. And then after that, it kind of like went into everything else that was like an accessory that someone else didn't offer. I was always doing LED kits. LEDs in models for myself before I started selling them as a store. So when I started finding like the right resources for LEDs and supplies, I was like, I could put this together in a kit and sell a kit for it, And then I started doing 3D design a couple years ago. And, now I have like the whole range of like accessory bits for like different models and stuff like that. And that's getting bigger every couple months as I launch more products and as I, get a little better with the 3D designing, because that's still kind of new for me. But I mean, right now I have 3 Formlabs printers in the one room and they're running 24/7. So there's more than enough orders coming in for them.
Now I've got your stencils up right now, and I'm showing everybody them. Are you planning to add more different designs to these, or?
Oh, every couple months I add a handful. So I mean, there's been more added on a regular basis. What was the most recent ones I added? In the infantry scale ones, I added really tiny reptile skin patterns and really tiny dragon scale patterns. Just
I see them right. Are these them right here? The ones that I'm showing right here?
Those are the regular size ones. There's even smaller ones than that, designed for like really tiny wing patterns.
Nice. Yeah, I believe. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If you go to the infantry size, scroll down a little bit further. There we go. Infantry size and the first two right there.
Yeah,
very tiny reptile skin patterns and really tiny dragon scale patterns.
Now, what are these made of, Ron?
It's self-adhesive vinyl.
Okay.
It's pretty durable. The material is really flexible, which is good because a lot of like wargaming models have really weird curves, and the biggest problem I had when I was purchasing airbrush stencils before from different people is I understand that people want like durability and they want like hardy stencils that'll last a while, but you get so much underspray with them and they just don't really work as well as if they were like adhered right to the surface, you know? Like the stencils that I have provide a pretty clean application because they're soft, they can bend to weird curves and then get really good, you know, suction on them. Like I'm trying to see if I even have something right here that I can show you. I don't know how well this will turn up on camera, but so see that tiny skin pattern,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
membrane pattern? Let me try to pull it in
Is
focus.
that the new reptile skin one that you have?
That is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta
it's
get
a
those,
great
man.
one.
I gotta get them. I gotta get them.
Yeah, the dragon scale ones are pretty awesome. I was going to use some of them on some deepkin, you know, floating animals. Here's another great one. So here's a wing that I was working on recently using one of the tiny.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So for like a magma effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't do this with a rigid stencil. It just, there'd be way too much underspray. It would blow out everywhere. You'd have
Now
to like
with those stencils, now I know because I've used them, but for those that have never used them, are they reusable?
They are multiple times with care.
As long
The
as you don't pull on them too
self-adhesive
hard.
aspect of it will fade after a while, but you could still hold them in place with tape and stuff like that if you want to. But as far as the actual material itself, it's pretty durable, but the stickiness of it will wear down after a while. But I mean, even still, it's a pretty low price point, so you definitely get your money's worth out of it,
Yeah.
like every time you use it.
Now
I've had people tell me they've used like the camo stencils for like a dozen tanks before the stencil crapped out. You know what I mean? It's like you're paying a couple cents a tank at that point.
Now here we're showing the Waterslide decals.
Yes.
And
yes.
you know, what I hear a lot from people is, do you have to spray them with something before you use them?
No, you don't. Not with mine. I think that's an older, you know, when people used to print their own decals, like they would traditionally, you know, use like an inkjet printer or something like that. And then like the water could make the ink bleed. That's not how we print. We have two different print systems here. We have a laser print system, which handles for very fine detail type stencils, but then decals, I mean, but we also have an eco-solvent printer, which is it's alcohol-based ink that is fused to the paper, so there's no way that water could, you know, smear it or do anything like that to it. But the colors on the eco-solvent printer are much more vibrant than what you would traditionally get with like an inkjet printer or something like that. So that's the main reason we got it, is because it's like an 8-color ink system.
Now, with the decals, a lot of them are for wargaming, I take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we do custom orders. So, I mean, I get stuff from all over the place. You know, I get guys that do like recreations. I had a customer that was doing a helicopter that he was a helicopter pilot in Philadelphia for a long time. And he retired, and he wanted to do a recreation of the helicopter that he flew for like 25 years. So, you know, I did custom decals for him, you know, so he could recreate like that specific helicopter. So I get a lot of cool jobs like that. And I had one guy a couple months ago that was doing a recreation of a World War II radio system, and he needed like tiny decals for all the little knobs and dials and stuff. So yeah, you know, we can do anything really.
Now with when you were talking about custom decals, because I when people ask me, I always tell them to go to you, you know, because I've gotten custom decals from you. What do they need to when they go to you? If they have an image, what is your requirement for you doing it? I mean, what is it that you need? If say I come to you and say, hey, I want the Styrene Syndicate logo done. You've done that for me. I've got a couple of sheets of that. What is it that I need to do to give to you so you can produce a good decal?
Well, if people go to fallouthobbies.com/custom, we actually have a bunch of different tier levels, and the different tier levels of service have different requirements, basically, because people sometimes will just want like an icon for an army, right? So they'll just want, you know, a bunch of shoulder pad icons, some vehicle icons, and they'll have like one symbol. Something like that, they can give me the image. I can redraw it if they just have like a doodle. You know, sometimes they'll be like, I want a skull with an axe behind it and a Roman numeral 5 or something. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can put that together. You know, so we do a lot of custom drawing and custom design. Most of what I would say, probably about 2/3 of the sheets that we do are like where Jules or I redesign it by hand, because you know the image quality is either too low or it just wouldn't really work
Right.
out like the way that we print. So we have to do a certain amount of work on the back end for it. But we also offer custom stencils, and we do offer limited custom 3D design work at the bottom. That's for if people want to take their army icon and put it on some doors or put it on some shoulder pads or something like that. You know, the cleaner and better an image is provided is the best, obviously. So if someone has like a really high quality image and they're saying we want this at 6mm tall, 8mm tall, 20mm tall, great. But if someone has like a doodle on like a bar
Hello?
napkin, we can redraw
Good.
that, you know what I mean, to the best of our ability. And, you know, obviously get approval from the client before we print anything. So, you know, it varies. It varies a lot from client to client, basically.
Now I have a question here, and it's one of the members of the syndicate. His name is Richard. I'm going to post it up so you can see it. And I he's got a question about something that he requested back in February. And I know you've been busy with the COVID thing and all that stuff. So I thought, you know what, let you answer this, you know, instead of, you know, and there, I don't know if you could see the question there.
Okay. So Richard's asking about a custom order that he ordered back in February.
Yeah, February 9th.
Well, Richard, that's something that, have you emailed customer service so you could see what's going on there? Because Jules and I answer that pretty much every day. And we can look into it and see what's going on and see what the holdup is. We have had an uptick, a major uptick of work in the past, you know, couple months, and we had a lot of issues we had to work through. So things got a little bit hectic, but if you emailed the store, we would answer back. So that's what I'll do. So I'll respond to him after the live stream.
Yeah, because you know, you're a stand-up dude. You've always been good to me. You know, I mean, things happen. You know, and whenever I've contacted you, it's like you got back to me right away. You know, so Richard, he's a stand-up dude. He'll get back to you, man. You know. Now I noticed now you're getting into the 3D printing for accessories and stuff.